So you became the senior associate.
Yeah.
Now, tell us a little
We had to invent the position, by the way. There were people in the Billy Graham Association who had associates.
Yeah.
Who were Billy's associates,
Yeah.
and they preached revivals under his mantle. And when the word came back that Lausanne was going to have associates, I have to tell you there were some pretty frustrated people there. Want to know, what does that mean, and how do you control them? What is this? It sounds so loose to them, see. But Ed Dayton was also a genius. He was a layman with a mission vision. World Vision had clout, and he had clout in World Vision, and I think that's one of the secrets of what Lausanne was. It was a servant organization that existed to partner and didn't have to take credit for stuff. And Leighton, they taught me a lot.
Well, from 1981
Yeah.
to when
About
you asked
2000.
me to
Yeah.
become the senior associate, what were some of the tactics
Yeah.
that proved useful?
Yeah. Well, let me say that Lausanne was a network. It brought people together. You know, Peter Kusmich and I were reflecting on this one time. The only place we ever met was at Lausanne thing. And we said to each other, I think we agreed, if Lausanne ever becomes a program, it's dead because it's competition with other programs. But as a network, you see, half the evangelicals in the world are in the World Council churches, and the other half are in the evangelical churches. And most of the money is with the evangelicals in the conciliar movement, and that's where Leighton was getting most of his Lausanne money, by the way. His old friends were Presbyterians and others. But the people who wanted us to concentrate on the NAE, which was called the National Association of Evangelical Types, wanted Lausanne to merge with that. And I always felt Lausanne had the gift of Lausanne was bringing two contrary networks together. First, the missiologists and the evangelists met. Boy, talk about different people. They view the world very differently. That was the tensions in the movement were not, I argue, liberal, conservative, or this or that. It was missiologists take a big picture. The classic missiology of W. Bosch, the late professor at Trinity, people that we admire so much, they look at cultures. They back away from performance to look at big pictures. Evangelists are reapers, take the hill types. And when they come together, stuff happens. And it was fun to watch. That was one set of pairs. The other was the wonderful symbolism of, there was no place else for me. I'm in a World Council denomination, American Baptists. Well, there were many others like me, I found, in Episcopal churches, Reformed churches of Europe, and so on. And we finally had a legitimate place to meet the non-conciliar evangelicals. Without playing games, we could talk and meet. The other tactic, so I think Lausanne's gift, which by the way the world still needs. Nobody does that like Lausanne did it. It was the biggest tent in the world where you could invite people to the conversation. And I always felt like if we didn't run a program, this could go on. But the moment we decided to do an international congress, all of a sudden we're at the trough for funding money, and suddenly we're competition with other groups. And I think somebody should look at that, the genius and the power of Lausanne as a covenant movement. Many things spun out of Lausanne. The tactic of stressing the covenant, I think, is really important. What I would say to the new generation is you ought to have a conference where you take that covenant and ask, what did this mean in 1974? When the World Council, having met in Bangkok, Salvation Today, the Liberation Agenda on the one hand, and you had evangelicals coming out of Berlin, 66, and the narrow view of proclamation, only preach the gospel, gospel's this, and that covenant nuanced in such an amazing way. Yeah, it's wonderful. Now, and if you ask those 15 articles, the one quotes the Human Rights Declaration, Article 13. It commits us to help the whole church, whole gospel, whole world. That's what Billy Graham did. Nobody else was doing that. He had the cardinal of the Catholic Church on the platform. He understood that in the family of the kingdom, we have these families, and that we should try to partner with them. We should run up the flag and go with who salutes. We should never build boundaries around this movement. And so the tactics I had were to identify, first of all, the cities of the world that had 1 million or more people, and go find out who cared about that city. who is a person like you who lives and breathes Montreal? And I found there were people like you around there. They come in different colors, different sizes, different denominations. And I said, could I come into your city and could we do something together? The Holy Spirit's in your city. Why don't we get the best, what business calls best practices? I didn't even know the language, but that's what it was.
Yeah.
Let's get together the signs of hope in your city, and let's say, I know you're busy. We'd like to come in, not to speak to you, but would you come together and share what you have discovered is working in your city? Well,